everyone, this is Yuri Kasdorp, and as you can see already, we're at one of the best tracks on iRacing. We're at Bathurst on the mountain. This is the last week of ERS. Last week they had fun, and I think this will be one of the best weeks of the season, ending the season with a bang. If you want to learn a track, there's a lot to learn, there's a lot of lines to get right. Without further ado, let's just get into it. So here we are, last sector Bathurst. We got our trusty turbo car, because we're a bit of elevation, which is where the turbo cars shine, especially in officials, where there's no BOP. About to start the lap. Early in the morning to get the track off ourselves. Turn 1, brake with a tire marker start, just before the 50. Try to set up for a good exit, use the curb on the right hand side. Big run running up to turn 2, so it's really important to get a good exit out of turn 1. Bring it over to the left side. Just after the entrance road, we brake. And then we use the camber of the track to get the car to rotate. Brake just after the crest here. Bring it slowly to the inside and careful with the throttle here, otherwise the inside will start spinning up. Just about flat here. And small lift here before the next one. Painting the walls a tiny bit. Have to keep the speed up through the middle sector. Brake just before the dipper. Keep it tight. Aim for the wall and barely miss it. Keep it tight to the right side here. Important to keep it tight at the hairpin so that we get good rotation. Got a really long back straight. And for the next corner we brake just before the 100. All flat until here. Hard to spot the braking mode for the last corner. It's just before the 50. Avoid the curb on the inside. And that's the lap around Bathurst. Alright, so here we are, start of the lap. For turn 1, we're gonna look at the stripes on the road here, just before the 50. When you're behind another car, you're gonna have to look at the right side here because you can't really look at the stripes. It's not super important to exactly hit the braking here, as long as you catch the camber on the inside of the corner here. So if you're behind someone, it's not that important if you slightly miss this braking here. As long as for the corner here, you make it to the inside where there's a bit of a camber of the track here. If you don't hit that, the car will understeer and you're going to lose a lot of time because this camber here on the inside will help the car rotate. You can clip the curb a tiny bit, but not too much on the inside. And then on throttle early, you can run all the way over the curb on the right hand side and use as much of the track as you can. Again, to get that good exit onto the straight, because it's a really long straight afterwards. You'll fast forward through the straight and get to the next corner. And for the next corner, we're going to be looking at the entrance road on the left side here. We're going to use this as a brake marker. So at the end of this, I want to brake, go down 2 gears, and then we get the corner where you get the most camber in the corner itself. But this camber is only on the inside. That means that we want to get to the inside of this corner fairly early. So we want to use this brake mark at the end of the entrance road here. And then go towards the inside fairly early. If we're not at the inside here, you see how the car kind of falls towards the inside here already. If we're not at the inside here, so for example, if you want to go too wide and pass, the outside line here rarely ever works. So you always want to get the inside line because the camber here is only until about the middle of the track. It evens out afterwards. What that also means is that we can carry a lot more speed than you probably think first time going through the corner here. And keep it in 3rd gear. And really go on throttle early as long as you hug the inside curb here and use that camber and then shoot out of it towards the end of the corner. Want to get close to the wall here, there's no off track on the left hand side. And we run over to the right side wall because we want a straight line and braking for the hairpin coming up. So we want to go over to the right side as much as we can. Still full throttle, make the corner to the inside so that when we're on the brakes here, we got as much of a straight line as we possibly can. The track keeps turning, but we want to brake from the inside to the outside as much in a straight line as we can. Want to bring it to the outside here. You have to be careful if you're all the way up against the wall, the track runs off a tiny bit on the outside. That means that if you're all the way up to the wall here, the car tends to understeer and you're going to miss the inside. This is another one of those corners where we want to hug the inside. We want to get really close to the wall because of the camber that there is on the inside compared to the outside. For the exit, really important here as well, the track evens out really quickly. That means that your left rear is going to get unloaded very quickly because we go from having the car all the way in the camber to suddenly being straight. What that does to the differential is it opens up the differential, and especially if you're running the differential not super high, which is usually the case when you're running low wing like we are here on a track where you still want to have a bit of downforce. What ends up happening is the inside tire starts spinning a lot. And it's a bit of a compromise that normally you have to take on a setup here, where if you want to avoid this and run really high preload, so high differential, to avoid having the inside spin up when this happens, the rest of the track is just worse. So what we have to do is you have to drive around it. And the way you drive around it is just wait a really long time to go flat out here, even though you would think that normally the car can handle this. And I see like here on the exit, I'm still not even flat yet. I'm waiting for this inside to stop spinning because, again, the differential opens up and all the power will go to the inside rear tire because it's the unloaded tire. And then once we're finally flat here, we can finally go flat out as well. And we can carry the speed. This next right hand goes easy flat. This one here is also flat, but it's anything but easy. As you can see, we want to use all the track on the left side here as we can. And slowly, with our wheels slowly start turning in, no big movements, and try to hold the wheel light because the rear will start to step out a bit depending on how much wing you're running. The faster setups, the more twitchy setups will start running lower wing because we have quite long straights here, but they are really twitchy on the top of the mountain on this part of the track. So slowly here going towards the inside, make sure to not turn it too early, and then barely miss the wall on the exit here again. The curb here catches the car a bit, but you don't want to rely on it too much because this wall here can get you quite a bit of damage if you understeer into it. We get the dip here, you want to run all the way to the right side here. We're slightly painting the wall here even, I would avoid that, but small tap like this isn't going to upset the car too much. You want to do a tiny lift in the middle here, but don't go off the throttle too long, especially when you get towards the apex. So from this point here, if you're lifting too much, you see I'm about 20% on throttle. If you're lifting too much, the weight of the car is going to go to the front, and that means that the rear is going to get unloaded. And especially when we start going uphill here, the front is going to be pushed into the track, and that makes the rear very twitchy. So a bit of throttle here makes it so that the rear is a bit more stable and it doesn't step out as easily. If you struggle with the rear stepping out, if you want to lift here. This part you want to lift, this part you want to lift a bit. Around this part here, you don't want to be completely off the throttle anymore. Especially around here, if you're still completely off the throttle here, the rear is going to step out too much. So make sure we're a bit on the throttle here, and the more you're on throttle, the more stable the rear will be. So if you want to have a really stable rear, you lift a bit on entry here and have a bit more throttle here. Want to keep it so we go towards the outside here. Again, barely avoid the wall on the right side. On top here, we want to lift just before we get to the top end of the mountain to get a bit of weight to the front end again, and then throttle again before we get to the bottom here. Flip the curb a tiny bit, and the track kind of compresses a tiny bit here. You see a bit of camber again. That means that we can be faster on throttle and taking a bit more speed than we usually can. The exit here, you can use the curb a tiny bit, but you don't want to be on top of the curb. And especially if you clip the grass here, you won't have enough time to bring it over to the left-hand side for the downhill section. So you want to make sure that you can use the curb a bit on the right hand side, but not overuse it, because it's going to give you a lot of trouble for the next sector coming up, like the next combination of corners. Talking about this, I want to bring it over to the left side as much as we can, again, because we're going to have to brake, and the track will not allow us to brake in a straight line. So we want to get over to the left side as much as we can and brake just before the top. If you're running a bit higher wing, or if you're really starting to feel comfortable at this track, you can brake at the top even, to carry a bit more speed down the hill. Then we want to make sure that the more we're turning, the more we're off the brake, and the more we're going straight, so in the middle between these corners, the more we use that to slow down and go onto the brakes. If we're braking too much while we're turning, we're going to lose grip, and the car is going to understeer straight either into this wall or the wall on the left side here as well. So the more we're turning, the more we need to go off the brakes. The more we're going straight in the middle, the more we can go on the brakes again. Then we go turn a bit again on the curb, we have to go off the brakes a bit again. Then before the next corner, we're going straight a bit again, we're going to go on the brakes a bit again. So I want to make sure to use those straights between the corners to slow the car down. You can use second gear or third gear here in the first bit, and you want to make sure that you're close to this wall on the first apex, and then kind of follow the inside curb for this one. Again, we're still slowing down, and you want to kind of follow the inside curb here until you see the wall on the inside. And we'll go to the onboard cam on this. The way to take the dipper well here is to aim for this wall. And because the track falls away from you, the car suddenly starts understeering. That means that we're going to miss the wall, but it's going to feel like you're hitting the wall. So from here, I'm turning into the wall, and from this point here, it looks like I'm going to hit the wall. But because the track drops away the last moment, we go straight and we barely miss the wall and hit the apex exactly like we want. So, especially in practice, just set yourself a marker on top of the hill or something and practice this and get the feeling for it. You want to carry the car towards the inside, around the curb, and then aim for these letters on the wall here, and the car is going to miss the wall if you do that. And it's a really weird feeling the first couple times you try that, especially as well once you start doing it in the visuals where hitting the wall means the end of the race. But I promise you, because the track falls away, the car understeers the last moment, and you're going to miss the wall and hit the apex. If you're going to aim for the apex, you're going to understeer wide and lose quite a lot of speed. So again, in full speed, you're going to follow the curb and then aim for the wall. The car is going to understeer when the track falls away, and we're going to hit the apex, and then we're going to be able to go on throttle really early here and carry the speed down the hill. So that's the point where you can gain a lot of speed if you get the right feeling for it. So again, if you hit the apex, you can go on throttle really early here. You want to aim to be on throttle when the car compresses again, and then flat out for the next part. Want to hug the inside wall here to go from the left side to the right side, so we got as much straight line braking as we can again for the hairpin. You don't have to follow the white line on the right side here to open up the corner. And again, it's got to do a bit with the banking on the inside. So what I like to do is, again, come from the left side at least. But once we get to this point here, from here to the next corner, I like to brake in a straight line. So braking in a straight line, that means that we're entering the corner, not from the complete outside, but from the middle of the track. You see a bit as well, there's dirt on the outside here. It's not the usual line that people take. If you make sure to not overshoot this corner and really hug the inside wall here, even on the inside of the white line, there's a lot of banking, and it kind of pulls your car to the inside and makes it so you can go on throttle really early. If you miss this a bit and your inside tires are a bit outside of the white line, you're going to sacrifice a lot on the exit speed. So it's really important to not overshoot this corner here. Get close to the inside wall, and as you can see, we're still in the middle of the corner, but I can just go flat out on the throttle and carry a really good exit. Not even that close to the wall on the exit here, so I could have even gone a bit earlier on the throttle. But that's because we take that tight line there, and the tight lines are most important in the horseshoe. I got the long back straight. Again, the kink here is flat out. All you want to do for the kink is set up the braking nicely. So you're coming from the left hand side here, set up the braking nicely, and make sure that when you start braking, you're following the white line on the right side already, you're parallel to that. I'm braking a bit before the 100, so a bit after the 150, maybe like 120. But it's a bit tricky. It depends on what part of the stint you're in, what stage your tires are in, and if you had slipstream or not. It depends on a lot of factors. There's a bit of dirt here on the track that I sometimes use as a brake marker. But again, it depends where you brake exactly. Because the car is getting compressed here, we're going from downhill to uphill. We can brake really hard without getting into the ABS too much. Want to make sure to turn in late here on the inside curb. You see it kinks a bit more in the middle. We want to apex just after that to make sure we get a good exit. So we want to use this kink in the curb as an apex. And then on throttle the moment we're at the apex here and make sure we get a nice exit from here. And we got the last corner coming up. Again, a tricky braking zone. It's really hard to spot where the braking is. Again, you can look at the 50 or you can look where this bit of dirt is on the road. And I try to brake it maybe like 5 to 10 meters before this bit of dirt here. Keep it to the right side. Make sure to not apex too early. To the inside. Use the curb with an exit. And that's the lap around Bathurst. Right, so there you have it. One of the best tracks I think on iRacing. A lot of fun, but a lot of sweaty moments to be had. Always like 1 or 2 moments in the race where you're scared of hitting the wall or even hit the wall. I think it's one of the best things to do on iRacing in GT3s, especially on this track. It's a lot of fun. Another track guide done, another season done. Hope you guys all enjoyed it. Appreciate all the positive messages. And if you want to see more videos like this, also for the next season, make sure to subscribe to the channel. See you next time.